Being a Christian woman and walking in God's calling for our lives can be a difficult task. With the world and pop culture telling us to be one way, and the Bible saying another, you kind of end up feeling like an other. Well, you're not alone. Join me now and my friends as we navigate life in our 20s and 30s, while making sure we live out our faith, embrace our femininity, and looking cute. We discuss pop culture, life, careers, relationships, and so much more. Prepare to be entertained and educated. I know you're going to love it. Join our movement and embrace being another girl. The views expressed on this podcast are our own and do not reflect our employers. Enjoy. Here we go. And hello, everyone. You're listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory.
And I'm Isabel.
And we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. So welcome. This is kind of like an emergency bonus episode. We are kind of just recapping our Christian conservative girly pop thoughts on the election. If you're new to this podcast, you're going to get a vibe of like our personalities and kind of like what we're about. Essentially, really quick, this podcast is we talk about life, career, relationships, and pop culture from the Christian conservative perspective. So we're going to talk about all the things your faves are talking about, but our opinion might be slightly different than what theirs is. And it might even be slightly different than what you think ours is going to be. If we're anything, we are just like changing cultural opinions on things. Anyway, that's not what I meant to say, but you know what I'm trying to say. Anywho, we're just kind of going to talk about the election, like some of our thoughts and kind of moving forward what we're thinking about the country. Isabel, what were your initial thoughts?
So I honestly was shocked a little bit because I really, you never know how these things are going to turn out. So I was a little on the nervous, anxious side, as many of my followers were on Instagram. I kind of did a little polls and just kind of kept being pretty active throughout the whole election night. But I actually fell asleep at 11. So I didn't get the news until the morning of because I was like, whoever's president, I got to work tomorrow. If it's Kamala, if it's Trump, I got a meeting.
Either way, you got to get into the office.
Exactly. So it's like whoever wins, I still have to go work and get these coins. Okay, get these coins. So that was like my initial. Obviously, I was obviously the candidate that I voted for. Won the election. But of course, half of the country is also, I guess, mourning their loss and whatnot. So it's a little. Yeah, it's very, let's just say everything's very sensitive, especially on social media right now. So just trying to like unplug. I said what I had to say, and now I am just trying to continue on because like I said, I had work all day today. So that was kind of my initial thoughts. I kind of popcorn all over the place, but yeah.
No, and I think you did good. I think you made a good point too about it being a sensitive time. And I am going to I do have a statement that I really liked that I saw that I'm going to read.
Yeah.
That has to deal with that. But I'll say my initial thoughts, not to, be an election predictor or anything, but I did think he was going to win. If you listen to some previous episodes, I did say that. I've said that in previous episodes. If you look at my personal Instagram, I've said that. So I did call it not to brag, but no. Yeah. But no, in all seriousness, I did think he was going to win just because I just thought about the country and like the things that we find important. I will say, I thought it was going to be much, much closer. I thought it was going to be, honestly, I didn't think we were going to, in one of my political group chats, we were talking about like what we think is going to happen. I predicted, I was like, he's going to win, but we're not going to know till Saturday.
Yeah.
I was completely wrong. So I didn't stay up either because once again, I had to go to work and I go to bed early in general.
To sleep. I was like, I told my boyfriend because he was keeping me updated. I was like, honestly, babe, I don't I obviously care, but I don't care because I voted. I did what I could. It's literally up to God now. It's in God's hands. And at the end of the day, my life still goes on and I have to go to work tomorrow. So I was like, okay, like all said and done, there's nothing I can do now. So I was just like, all right, I'm going to go to bed.
Yes.
So yeah, that's how I felt too.
Yeah. And I wanted to stay up. Like, I have always loved politics. Like, that's something that's just been really cool to me. So like, this was my Super Bowl. Like, I felt like it was New Year's. I was on the phone with one of my friends. I was like, Guys, I can't. I have to go to sleep. I feel like New Year's, like when you're a kid and you're like, I'm gonna stay up till midnight, and
I
then
feel
like
like
you
those
fall
Christmas,
asleep.
like, the Christmas Eve
Yeah.
and you're like, the presents and
Yeah, I'm
blah, blah,
gonna stay
blah.
up.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. I know. It was intense. I mean, I will say, I think social media makes it more intense, but in reality, like,
100%.
and I have my obviously my during election thoughts, my post election thoughts. I just think, like, for me, I don't know.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Really quick before you do that, let's go over what happened really
Okay, yeah, yeah,
quick.
yeah.
So, um, obviously, you know that former President Trump, now President-elect Trump, won.
Such a
Let me tell you
mouthful.
a mouthful. Trump is your president. That's essentially it.
47.
So he won the popular vote as well as the electoral college. And that has not happened in decades. That is a huge feat. So what does that tell us? That tells us there are a lot of people who voted for this gentleman. There are more people than we expected. None of the polls
Yeah,
that they did, the predictions, none of it predicted what happened. So
yeah,
there's a lot of one thing, and I think we'll get into it a little bit later, is like the silent majority, that
right.
there are a lot of people who are nervous about saying that they support Trump or whatnot. Their voices were heard because, like I said, he won the popular and the electoral college. That is not normal. That
Like
does not
numbers,
always
like I told
happen.
you, off the cobs, like numbers don't lie. So if you're someone that you are really don't really have a political home, you can always, and not even if you do have a political home, you should always look at the numbers because the numbers don't lie, and
Yeah,
you can base it off of data. And I think a lot of historical moments happened last night. So yeah,
100%.
for sure.
So Republicans um still have the House. We also got the Senate. We didn't have the Senate before. Now we have the Senate. Now,
Crazy.
this is talking about historical. The presidency, the House, and the Senate. This is huge. This also is good
Yeah.
because there are two justices who will probably retire the next 4 years. They're both conservative, so now we can get more conservative leaning, more constitutional, um, because
Yeah.
justices are supposed to be impartial. They're not supposed to have like any political leanings, but obviously, anyway,
Right.
we can get to that kind of that do focus more on the Constitution and aren't trying to be activists from the bench. So that's really exciting. This is big. We did well. I'll talk really quick for North Carolina. North Carolina, the state, we did not do as well, but what is good, we did keep the majority in the state legislature. We elected a Democrat for governor, lieutenant governor, and the attorney general. So that's not good, but I could do another episode on that. But
I know.
North
We gotta
Carolina,
make 1 hour episodes.
yeah, no,
Obviously.
literally. But so yeah, I just wanted to go over like kind of what happened and like how it's historical and how that, and then before we go on to like some of the thoughts that we've had throughout the election, I want to read this thing. So someone did ask us. So I asked you guys if there was anything, or actually no. First, I want to read this thing. This is by Macy. She's been on the podcast before, and I thought this was really good. Um,
Oh, Macy. I think I know her, right? We're talking about the same
yeah,
Macy.
I think yeah, she does a lot with the women's in
Cardio?
sports, only women. No, that's another
Oh.
Macy. Really
Like Cardi.
sweet. Yeah. No, not that Macy. Shout out to that Macy too. So this is another Macy that's been on the podcast, and she does a lot of stuff with women's sports.
Okay.
So she says, pausing for a moment to shout out my friends who may disagree with me, but see me as more than just my political takes. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for still following my social media page and watching God's plan for my life unfold. Though I share things that you disagree with, I understand this is a hard day for you and it's possibly a lot to worry. I pray you find some rest, hope, and peace and God's throne. And then another post I saw, it was like, when you're tempted to gloat, make belittling comments, or boast about political victories, I encourage you to refrain. Don't lose a gospel opportunity over politics. I've done it and it's not worth it. Oh, this is from Noel. Be
Oh, no. Okay.
be bold for Jesus. You've been blessed with an administration that doesn't hate you or your God. Now is the time even more to be bold for the right things. So I wanted to, before we like continue, I did want to say like this isn't us like, oh yeah, we got yeah, you down you liberals. Like that's not us at all. We're just expressing like what has happened
Right.
and we're giving our thoughts, and
Moving
this
on.
isn't, yeah, we're moving on. Like I just don't want you guys to, like, anyone listening here thinking like we're just punching down. No, we're just giving our thoughts about what has happened. And I do want to recognize there are some people, and we're going to get into it. There are some people who I don't know how or why, but they really think they're going to lose basic human rights, and that's just not the case. And for that, I say I am so sorry that social media has lied to you, that whatever happened has allowed you to believe that, but you're not going to. But anyway, we'll get into that later. Um,
It,
so also another cool thing, Florida voted
no,
no to
Prop 4.
enshrine for Prop 4. Oh, look at you. You already no for Prop
Girl,
4.
I'm
Yeah.
bringing the heat today. I'm just kidding. Today, tonight. It's freaking pitch black.
Yeah, so Florida voted no on Prop 4. So that was cool. That was amazing because I know a lot of people that worked on that. So I'm very grateful for that. And I mean, Florida is looking really good right now. I mean,
Florida's looking like, yeah. If Texas
yeah, it's
ever
looking
turns blue, I'm just gonna.
no, Texas will never turn blue. That
Yeah,
is
Florida is literally
Florida and
MAGA
Texas.
country.
Yeah, well, Florida and Texas, I think, are pretty safe for life, but you never know. Anyway,
Anyways,
Isabel,
yeah,
so
yeah.
what are some of your other thoughts that you had going on? Like what are some things you saw on social media?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I feel like we are like on Fox News or something right now.
Maybe we
I
are
feel
some
like I
people's
should have
Fox
like an American
News.
flag. Where's my makeup team? I'm just kidding. No, I do. Like, I mean, like, I do watches the election once. I'm a political commentator. No, but I think, okay, well, we've been in this fight for what? Like, I mean, I personally, I guess, quick little story about like, I personally started really taking a not deep dive, but started researching things on my own back in 2020. In 2016, I really didn't care. I was not really right or left. I was just like, whatever. And then 2020, obviously pandemic started. I started doing my research. I started really like things were not adding up. I'm not gonna get into it because again, it could be a whole podcast, which I actually want to do an episode on, like how I basically became to believe what I believe. Anyways, so 2020 riots, all that stuff happened, COVID, whatever, whatever. I started really opening up my eyes to like what the mainstream media was saying versus what was actually happening and what people like on the field, on the ground were actually reporting. And so it changed my views on a lot of things. And then obviously now it's when I was like, okay, this is what I believe. This is what I feel strongly about. So it was a different voting perspective, I guess you could say. Like I voted early. I've never voted early in my life. So anyways, I think for me, I also wanted to just touch on obviously being Latina. A lot of Latinos have historically voted Democrat. And what we're seeing now, and I want to give a shout out to my friend Abraham from Bienvenido, because they basically were as a grassroots movement for Hispanic voters to basically give them awareness of what's actually happening and how Hispanics are really conservative in nature, right? We love God, we love our family, we love our babies, right? We're very pro life. And so, anyways, it just kind of filtering through the mainstream media of like we should be voting Democrat and stuff like that, getting brainwashed by the media. So it's like, oh, anyway, so that movement and we basically broke record for Hispanic voters across literally like crazy numbers. I don't know about the exact
Hmm.
numbers, but
I
Hispanic
think
voters show
44%
yeah, I think
Hispanic
40
men.
something. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
like
yeah. It
literally
was high.
it was
That's
high,
huge.
and it was just crazy to me because that's never happened before, and that really just goes to show that there was a lot of work that was done from like 2020 and moving forward to this election. So Hispanic voters showed up and showed out, and we've made it clear that there are a lot of Hispanic conservatives, and that's kind of where that's pretty much how we were raised. So, anyways, I wanted to make that remark, but that's about it.
No, I think you made really good points. I think when you looked at the statistics, a lot of I mean, once again, he got so many votes. So a lot of the people who we thought, or mainstream media or social media tells you is voting one way, voted another way. And I think it kind of goes down to I want to kind of talk about like what I think was kind of like the breakdown.
Right.
Um, what
What are you
I
looking
think.
at?
Oh, sorry, I got a notification. You could see it in my eyes.
I'm like, what are you looking at? I have
Um,
ADHD, so I'm like, oh, look, she's distracted.
no, I got a notification that it's still doing fine, but I need to free up my space. But anyway, um, yeah, it's still uploading. So anyway, like I was saying,
Yeah.
I was talking about the breakdown of what I think a huge problem or like the reason why I think the Dems didn't do so well is I think just because of messaging, she didn't really have a plan.
You know?
And like we said earlier, um Hispanics are essentially conservative. Black people are actually conservative too. Like what you said about black people is the same thing, or what you said about Hispanics, the same thing about black people. Essentially, it's
Uh,
just a matter of like having these conversations and like getting the
yes,
chance to like explain, like, okay, I know that you think that this, but no, let me show you here. And she just did not do a good job.
she
One,
didn't have
like,
anything to back on, like, back off,
no,
and I'm pretty sure there was people that were like, "Well, I'm a Democrat, like, I wanna vote for my candidate," like, because they don't it's like, I'd rather work with it's like a relationship, you'd rather work with what you have than try to find someone
yeah,
else, if you're, like, a right-minded person or whatever. So, like, I almost did feel like some of the people in the middle were very, like, forgotten, and I think that that's what happened. They were like so when you have political affiliation that goes so far to the other side, it's almost like, well, they have no choice but to go to the other party or to
mm-hmm,
not vote at all because you're basically you're basically dismissing like half of the country. And I think also the rhetoric, like a lot of people are waking up. There's so many like little points that I want to touch on, but I think also there's actually a left leaning commentator. I don't know their name, I forgot, but I saw it on the memes. It was one of saying like how their party should look or the Democrat Party should look within themselves and see like what was the messaging where we went wrong. Because
100%.
I do think that they're losing a lot of voters that they could have otherwise had if they had really listened to what everyday Americans were wanting, and they just didn't get that from Kamala. And I think that really hurt them because they were just really Kamala ran on abortion, and we all know that
Yeah,
it's literally up to the states. That's literally all it is. So whether Kamala was president or Trump, it was not going to change the status on abortion. Now it's just up to
yeah,
the states, and it's crazy because yeah, I just think there's a lot of misinformation, and now and with us, we've kind of been the ones that have been bullied and kind of told to shut up and to take it and hey, your voice doesn't matter and how dare you speak out? How dare you have a different opinion? How dare you think differently than me? So it was almost like, well, you dismissed us. You basically said, okay, well, these people don't matter. They don't exist. They're garbage. They're races. They're faces, whatever. And it's like that's not like how many times do we have to tell people like that's not really a reality. That's just mainstream media. So I do think a lot of it is the byproduct of mainstream media making people literally fearful and having all this propaganda like, oh my God, someone's gonna come at your door and Trump's gonna get you like the boogeyman.
right, right. No, you're so right. And so to the abortion thing, so I have a million things I'm thinking of, but I want to piggyback what
Yeah,
you said about the abortion thing. She made this whole election about abortion, and I said this earlier. I for this podcast, I just kind of was
right,
trying to look to see like what were people thinking. Like I was doing a little bit of research, so I'm like, okay, a lot of people who are upset are like, we're going to lose women's rights, we're going to lose women's rights. Okay, cool. What women's rights are you thinking? Look, I could not find anything other than stuff about abortion. And that's all the election she made the election about. And I think
right.
doing that, because if you
Oh,
think that all women care about is abortion, all not only is that insulting, you think that all women care about is just being able to have the ability to kill their offspring.
right,
Not only that, if you think that's all that women care about, but I mean, we
right.
have jobs, like, we
Yes,
wanna
like
protect ourselves,
right.
we
We
want
when
to
it
be able to
came to
live
like
in a free
safe
country,
country,
like,
right?
it's just there's so
Like I
many more
said,
things to us than
like,
that.
and I think when it comes down to it, you got to prioritize. It's like at work, right? You have all these tasks, and it's like, okay, what are you going to prioritize? There's so many things that you have to do. It's like so many things you care about. There's so many issues to care about. But then it's like, okay, well, when our pockets are hurting and gas is like almost $5, $6, and you can't afford groceries and you're barely making it. And granted, a lot of people are on good incomes. Like I would consider myself like I make a good income, but yeah, I'm still living paycheck to paycheck because of so many of my freaking taxes go to like, I pay taxes or whatever. But anyways, all that to say is like I do think like so obviously there's the people that are gonna vote like right no matter what, right? But there's also gonna be people that are always gonna vote blue no matter who. So it's like also they like I said, there was a big gap of like they're not connected to the middle moderate people that are like, look, that's like some people are like, okay, I'm gonna vote for no matter who's Democrat because that's my party, right? They're loyal to their party.
Mhm.
Same thing with the right, right? But then it's like the people, it's like they I'm sure there's people that were more left leaning. They're like, I want to vote for Kamala. I want her to be my candidate. But she wasn't like giving anything besides I came from a middle class.
Mhm.
And you
And
saw that throughout all the interviews, and people were like, even Oprah. I don't know if you saw that interview with Oprah. She was like, I don't know if you saw that, but Oprah was interviewing Kamala, and she just kept like going off and off and off about how she was in a and even Oprah was like, I don't think this is it, you know.
Oprah's like,
It was just
"Okay,
interesting
let's
to
do more."
watch and see everything
Yeah.
unfold. And so I think like with what I think the other obviously the right, the conservative movement, they did a good job at like this is reconnecting. I don't know if I'm losing you. It's like even if you didn't care about a certain issue, there's so many issues and policies to care about that there was something you can gravitate toward or relate to or feel passionate about. So if it wasn't abortion or the economy, it was the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again. You don't want toxics in our foods and pesticides and stuff like that. So I think that you know they obviously gained a lot of those voters that maybe they hadn't otherwise have gotten. So
Yeah. And another thing I wanna add, into, like, part of their problem too was, like, I'll this is when I was like, "Okay, this campaign is off the rails." They had Megan Thee Stallion.
oh yes,
I
yes, yes.
They had so Kamala had a rally, and she had Megan Thee Stallion up
She had
there
many
twerking.
rallies and they were all celebrities.
M Yes. But let me say this, the thing about the Megan Thee Stallion thing that I think kind of, like, was really it just it just wasn't smart to me. Megan Thee
Yeah.
Stallion had so, yes, she's famous for her songs, for twerking, blah, blah, blah. She has a degree in public health. She could have gone up there and said something about public health, about what Kamala's plan was going to be, how she agreed with it, said something. She could have come up there, said that, and then if she wanted to do the thing at the end with her tongue, and because that's her branding, whatever. She didn't have to go up there and like literally Kamala said, get out there, you twerk, you do that, you go back and sit in the audience. And to me, that just like that is where I was like, okay, this is going off the rails. And it just continued
Yeah.
to go off the
It
rails.
just felt like they were trying to throw something to see what would stick. And like
Yes.
and like I said, I think with us the difference is that we've been the forgotten. We've been the silent majority. We've been the hey, you're dumb, stop talking, you know? So we started working on our own grassroots organizations like Turning Point, like Daily Wire, like the Candace Owens show, like the Politics, all these independent
Those
media.
are the
And I
girls.
think
Go ahead.
those are the girls. I'm just kidding. So I think like, of course, our podcast, like
Uh,
ours. So it's like I think it was not just a win for okay Trump. It was more like a win for like less censorship and less government and just leave us alone. We're just trying to pay our bills and make a living and have a safe and prosperous country, you know? So I
yeah.
think like, yeah, to them, even when, like I said, even back to my whole meme story of how like one of the left leaning commentators was like, I think we need to look at our own party and we need to have our own independent media, just like the right does with Daily Wire and the Candace Owens shows and stuff like that. Because again, like honestly, the mainstream media is a dying freaking media.
Agreed.
And
Yeah.
and the new wave is like independent journalism and people are just tired of being lied to and people are just tired of being bamboozled and being like these little pawns in this big, you know, elite show or whatever. And honestly people are tired and it showed
Yeah.
because, like you said, not
100%.
only did the candidate, obviously he won and he won in like a very drastic way. So it's
Yeah.
like,
It was
yeah, maybe we should not neglect half of the country. Maybe we should not call them garbage. Maybe it's time to we
yeah.
actually have conversations. Like I think anything worth having is not going to come easy. So I think now we need to have those conversations and doesn't mean that we're going to come we're going to see eye to eye, but it's like all right, we can agree to disagree. And I do
Right.
think that social media obviously played a big role because again, I really do think that the right had a really good marketing campaign. I think that the Trump and Vance campaign had really good marketing versus, the other people, they were kind of hanging on by what used to work, which was mainstream media, which was celebrity endorsements. But when you have people that their pockets are hurting and they can't even freaking, we're just trying to come up for fresh air. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't care if Beyonce tells me who to vote for or freaking Shakira or
So
J
out of
Lo.
touch.
They're so
Yeah.
out of touch with reality. No matter who's president, it does not affect them in the least bit. So
That
I think people just
that
got
part right
so
there.
fed up
Mhm.
and like, I'm sorry, but I don't care that
Yeah.
Cardi B tells me about who to vote for and that she also has a WAP.
Yeah, like, I like,
So, no, and
the
people
whole
got tired. It's like, you don't have to be
yeah,
a MAGA cult person, um, to be like, "Okay, well, I have to go with these folks because these other people are, like, literally so off the walls and can't relate to them in the least bit," you know?
right.
So,
And yeah, no, I know a couple people actually who never even voted before, but they're Christians and they just saw how wild and they
yeah,
felt like they had to this time. Because I think you made a good point on the side on Trump's side. And I also want to say this, like, I don't think neither
we
one of
also
us think
don't
Trump
ag
is a savior.
right,
I don't agree with
everything
some of
that the
the things he
candidate does
does,
or
like,
says.
but I do recognize A, he's better than Kamala, and then B,
Form a
I
sentence.
recognize that, yeah.
Okay.
Um, and then wait,
Yeah.
what?
No, no, I will say I am gonna miss Kamala, and I never thought I would say that
The laugh.
because of the accents, the she's actually kind of funny.
She's hilarious. Okay, and that's what they were running on. Her being funny, her laughing, her being
Yes,
unburdened, the coconut tree. And that's not a president. Like, that is also the thing too. Like, that's not a president. Like, that is not. And on the Brat Summer thing, the memes, hilarious,
oh
loved it,
shit,
laughed, giggled, had a great time. Um, everything good?
it was my Wi-Fi.
Oh,
What were you saying?
um,
I have to say it
I
once.
am.
The
Go
one
ahead.
that my favorite phrase is, "How do you know empathy, man?" Do you know it?
Oh, I don't think I've heard that
What?
one.
Oh, she did the Jamaican accent. She
Oh,
was
I
like,
have. Okay, I haven't
how do
heard.
you know empathy, man?"
That's so funny.
The
My
people
favorite one.
uh,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, no, no, that was it.
Okay, I was just gonna say my favorite one is always gonna be you think you just fell out of coconut tree? You exist in the context
Context.
of all in
All
which that you live and what came
came
before
before
you.
you.
That will always be my favorite. So, like, but and we're laughing, we're joking, we're that's not a president. Like, that you need to have policies. Like, these are
Yes.
funny, these are cool, but like you need to have like policy that we agree with.
Right.
Sure, she had policy for a overturning, or what did she say? Something with abortion. I can't even articulate
Hey,
really what she thought
honestly,
she could do.
uh,
Sure, she had that. Wait, really quick, really quick.
yeah, yeah.
So sure, she had that, whatever she thought she could do, or and I can't even articulate what she thinks was possible. Okay, like that's the other thing too. Like I can't even articulate that. But that's not like some of us
Sustainable.
are really struggling. We need solutions. We need that. And
Um,
the thing is, like we were saying earlier, like none of us are we're not praising Trump. He's not a savior or anything like that. But we're also holding out hope that he will have good people surrounding him. And I think some of the people that he's talked about going on to be in charge of different on his cabinet will be good.
yeah,
A couple people here and there I'm raising a little bit because I do, so there is
same.
another aspect of things that you know it is good to have people who are outsiders on your cabinet, but you also, I'm just hoping, if you're listening, Trump, I'm just hoping that you will have people that can help them, because I think I've seen this just because of like political things I've seen. A lot of when outsiders come in, sometimes they don't have the staff because they just don't know how it works, which is
They also
fine.
don't play nice, and they're like, they could be,
Yeah.
yeah,
So, and we need, I just hope that some of the outsiders that come in just have the staff that can understand, like, okay, you need to do this procedure, this is how
yeah,
it goes, and like, shake things up here and there, but like also, don't
yeah.
completely
And we can also get
change
into
it.
that like post election and stuff like that because I know we probably have to wrap it up. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know we said we are gonna do a little bit, but it gets fun talking about the stuff. But also, I think yeah, back to what you were saying. Oh my god, I just lost my train of thought. Um,
Coconut
no, not
trees.
coconut. Basically, just oh yeah, I think I also want to say like this is the time for also like no matter how the election turned out, like even if Kamala had became president, like I'm still going to pray for my leaders, and I would encourage
Yes.
anyone that is a Christian, that's a believer, that's listening, that we pray for our country, we pray for Trump, we pray for Kamala, that honestly that they would turn to God because at the end of the day, Jesus is who we aspire to be, and we want to honor him and glorify him. And like I was telling my sister, this really was a mercy, a cry for mercy, and God had his hand over our country. And this is not just going to affect, like, whoever became our president wasn't just going to affect America, but it was going to affect the entire
The
world. Like, this
world.
is a
Yeah.
leader of the free nation. So I
Yeah.
think, like, honestly, I'm all kicks and giggles, but at the end of the day, it's like a very important role. And like I
Mhm.
said, you might not agree with everything about your leaders, but just pray for them because they need it. Every single leader in our nation needs it, whether your party won or didn't. I think we should definitely pray for our country, pray for our leaders, pray for each other, because there's a lot of divisiveness. I mean, I have like 50 followers and counting that I'm losing because one little post,
Yeah.
and it's like, how did America become so divisive? And I
Yeah.
blame the mainstream media because I truly believe if they did their job as actual journalists, we wouldn't be in this predicament. People didn't have to fear about riots after an election. Like, what the heck, you know? And that's why
Yeah.
I posted those memes because I was like, I was trying to cope with humor, but I was like, it's really sad that we have to board up and all that stuff because it's like, okay, yeah, red or blue. It's like we're all American. We all
Yep.
bleed the same. We all have the same. Honestly, it made me sad because not because, oh my God, I'm losing followers and I care about so much about likes, but it was more like, oh, like people really don't care. The second that you don't agree with them, they're so quickly to dismiss you, you know? And I think we need
Mhm.
to hear each other more, especially after this election, because it's like, hello, we're not the little majority anymore. It's like, maybe you should listen to us. Maybe you should actually have conversations and be like, hey, why do they really feel that strongly about this person or about this party or about these policies and stuff? And even if you don't agree, it's like, hey, we can be cordial and I still love you and we can still be friends, or we can at least be cordial and be respectful towards one another. But this whole divisiveness is like nasty, it's petty, and it's honestly useless because when tragedy strikes, when there's a hurricane or tornado, Kamala nor Trump is going to be here cleaning your house. It's going to be your neighbors. And you're still going to interact with these people, whether you like it or not, at Starbucks, at your coffee, at church, literally everywhere. Like today I woke up and it's like, yes, the person that I voted for won, but I'm going to work the same. I'm dressing up for work. I'm putting on my makeup. I'm getting my coffee. I'm driving and I'm interacting with people. I don't know who they voted for. I don't care, honestly, as long as we can, be in the same space and not try to freaking, you know, wrangle each other's throats. So, yeah.
Yeah. And to wrap it up and just to piggyback off of what you said really quick, it's just 4 years. And I think that if we can just remember, like, we can get through it no matter
Yeah.
who was going to be president. And I've said this on other podcasts before, no matter who was president, we will get through it. We were okay before, we'll be okay again.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's just really important to remember. And then your friends. So if you, like, I don't understand why people like stop being friends with people for politics. If this person was your friend and you had no problem with them before, they're not a different person. You just found out that they voted this particular way. And then ask them why.
Right.
Ask them why. Cause like what I've learned and like what I have really kind of just tried to remember is, so for me, the life issue is the number one issue. That is
Right.
my number one issue. I have friends whose Second Amendment is their number one issue. I try my hardest not to like, so if they make a
Like,
decision
yeah.
to not to judge them for that decision. Like, we all have different things that we are prioritizing. Some people's and what issue is the border. Maybe they live in a border state. I don't really
Right.
think too much about the border because I don't live in a border state. So
Right.
it's not
Like,
top of mind for me.
I
But
think
maybe
our
that's someone else's
environment, our
number.
upbringing, or, it affects a lot,
Right.
like geographically,
So
It-
right, right. And if there are other aspects of this person that you enjoy, you see their heart, you know that they've been there for you. You know that you lost your job and you could stay with them, or you guys have both known each other since you were 5 years old. I don't think it's worth losing a friendship over. I don't think it's even worth seeing someone differently.
yeah,
There
and
are
yeah, uh-huh.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, no, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, like, there are like we all have different things that we prioritize, and I think there's room to discuss it and room to figure out, okay, why does this person think that? And like,
It's also time and
sure,
a place. It's like, how much can you
right,
it's like, don't grab a little bit of whatever they post and, like, take that and, like, run with it. Because it's like, there's so
right,
much, like, and that's why I do like podcasts, because I felt like you can talk a little bit more about why you feel a certain way, and it's like, "Oh, okay, like, I get where they're coming from. I might
long
not
form,
understand it or or I would ever think that way, but it's like, all right. And then another thing is, it's like, if you don't like something, just so wipe right. Like, there's no
Yep.
need to like, ponder on it and make that like, don't put hatred in your heart, don't put bitterness. And that's just not, A, it's not healthy for you. B, it's like life goes on. Like I said, the sun still rose and we all went about our business. Like, we
Yep.
still, like I said, we still got to go to work. I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
And like, it is what it is. So, like you said, it's 4 years. And honestly, I would even take it a step further and be like, if you really didn't like the turnout, like talk to your family, talk to your members, advocate for your party, go if you feel so passionate about certain policies, start your own organization. And literally no one's stopping you. No one's stopping me, no one's stopping you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you don't like something, if you don't like the turnout, how about we actually put that into action and do something
Yes.
about it? If you feel led
Yes.
about a certain issue, fight for it. Go, like I said, start an organization, and that's going to create more change than you us sitting on social media and unfollowing people and going through this like block list. Like I
Yes.
said, you can't just pretend we don't exist, because we obviously do. There's people that don't think the same as you, unless you're gonna live in a bubble in like a separate island. In that case, please invite me, because I want to live on an island.
Maybe not with those people though, but
Unless you're really trying to be off the grid and by yourself, then
yeah.
sure, think whatever you want to think. But the reality is, we all come from different backgrounds, beliefs, perspectives, and you're not going to change everyone's minds. It's just not. Think about it. If we all were the same and thought the same, how boring would that be? You know.
Yeah.
So that was my little
100%.
spiel of the moment, and yeah, I think it's crazy. And I also want to, next time, I think we should talk about how I feel like influencers were put in this box of like, we all of a sudden, if you're more right leaning or conservative and you happen to have a lifestyle fashion page or whatever content you produce, it's like people can't, people, you just like, you only have to fit in that box. And if you step out, you lose brand partnerships, you lose collabs, you lose friendships, literally, so much is on the line, which is really sad. And it's really, you know, yeah, it's really disheartening, and it's just not right. I think
Yeah.
that if like we respect people, we should respect each other point of views, and should affect our freaking um you know partnerships and stuff. So
Yeah. Which is, and this will be a good way to wrap it up, which is another reason why we need to have our own things. Like that's why it's so important for us to, create our own businesses. If you're in school, to pay attention, like we need to have our own movies, our own this, our own that. So then we don't have to feel like there will be, let's say you lose a brand partnership with Bob's Burgers, you have an opportunity to be with Sarah's lettuce wraps, like
and it's
there
sad. It's
should
like
be
we don't really want to be. It's like almost like we're going back to segregation, but it's almost like we
right,
kind of have no
right. You
choice,
don't want to
because
be like that, but I'm
on
just
one
saying.
side you're like, well, if I say that, oh, well, I actually believe in this, or I don't believe in this, it's like, oh, well, get in line. Who cares? And
Yeah.
like show. And so to that I will say, like, I would always be rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I'm not. And at the end of the
Mm,
day, if someone's going to dismiss you or unblock you or whatever, not unblock you, block you or unfollow you for one little thing, it's like, all right, well, you probably were not friends with me to begin with. So,
yeah. Yeah.
but I just think it's unfair, and I think we definitely have more work to do as far as being inclusive to freedom of speech and thought, and we shouldn't be put in boxes. And influencers that are more right leaning shouldn't feel like they're gonna lose out on all these brand deals and collabs, because we're not just gonna slap on. And I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna promote something that I don't believe in, no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
the no amount of money is worth that. So
Yeah. Amen.
it is what it is.
Yes. Thank you guys for listening to this bonus emergency episode about the election. If you enjoyed it, let us know. We're going to be back on a consistent schedule in 2025, but we're still going to do a new episode. Hopefully, we'll have a new episode on this upcoming Monday. And a little preview, I really wanted to talk about the 4B thing. I don't know if you've seen that. I'll send you some videos on that.
Yes, please.
We'll talk about 4B for those who are aware of it. We're going to talk about that and a bunch of other random pop culture thingies that have happened. I mean, honestly, everybody's really talking about the election, so maybe not. We might still talk more about the election then too. But
Right.
anyway, you guys, thank you so much for listening. Let us know your thoughts if you agreed with us, if you didn't agree, or anything like that. Leave it in the comments. Spotify allows you to comment now, YouTube, wherever. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well. Life is Malpal. Those are the girls podcast.
Style and smile.
Alrighty. So have a good day, night, evening, however, wherever you're listening. Bye.
Bye, guys.